Hey everyone, welcome back to another Godzilla Battleline video, and today we're talking about the Kiryu stall deck meta, or just the Kiryu leader meta in general, and do I think that this is a top deck for competitive play? And the answer is most certainly yes, especially for newer players. This kind of deck will carry you well into the high ranks, and we'll break down why, right? And of course, before we start, I have to give an apology to Godzilla, who is a great player, and yes, did stall this match out to absolute zero cannon them, but I did not train bomb them. There's actually no train bomb in the deck I was using. I used Mogera instead. It's not any better, I know, but I felt guilty about doing the trains. I'm feeling a little bit guilty about the Mogera. I'm sorry, my friend. It's just for the content. Please, I'm sorry. It was a good battle, though, and I'll see you in the game again with my actual deck, not a Kiryu cheese deck. But you made it into the video, so shoutouts to you. Now, with the YouTuber apology out of the way, let's break down why the Kiryu meta is such a good option, especially for newer players. Two factors. One, Kiryu. Obviously, he's both factors. I don't know why I said one Kiryu. Kiryu, both the factors involve Kiryu. So, first things first, when you're a new player, you have your 3 days of missions that you get as soon as you start the game. A lot of veteran players, you guys might not remember that these were added probably like a year ago, a little bit over a year ago. And newer players, you're well familiar with this, the Kiryu challenges, where on the second day of playing the game and you complete all the challenges, you're going to get a piece of Mothra, and on the third day of playing, you get a piece of Kiryu. Goated unit. Huge. Even at level 1, really early, Kiryu is great. When my brother first started playing, he pulled a Kiryu out of a box before he even got that challenge done, and then he pulled a second one, and then he got the third piece of Kiryu from that challenge, and a level 3 Kiryu carried him into like the 40s. It was crazy, right? Kiryu getting at such a young age, getting Kiryu at such an early stage in the game, not a young age, but like you're like a low level account, you're like a low level player. I guess you're like a young player as opposed to like a veteran player, but getting Kiryu early is huge. Kiryu is one of the only leaders that really can stand up to a lot of meta decks without a whole lot of effort being put in. And that's for the second reason, is the leader ability for Kiryu, which people have been calling to get nerfed for a really, really long time, but I honestly think it's fine. I think they just need a little bit more ways to maybe counteract it, but there's still a few really good options, and we'll talk about that later. It's the absolute zero cannon. Leader ability costs 9 and will do 90% damage to any enemies that are hit by it. It has like a cooldown of like 3 minutes or something, so you're really only getting one good shot with it in the entire match. And if you're close enough to the enemy leader, it will hit them. So, I don't need to really explain this for a lot of the older players that play the game, but if you're a brand new player and you have Kiryu and you're using a Kiryu leader deck, don't use absolute zero cannon on your enemy's units. You might think that you can't beat them. I promise you, wait for the overtime, and then for your characters to move closer together. You only need the enemy leader and your leader to move one time. As soon as they start moving and you're able to use your leader ability again, you can hit them with an absolute zero cannon, take 90% of their health, and then do the typical drop Mogera on them, drop the missiles on them, drop the trains on them, drop the Dimension Tide, and win. Okay? This is going to pretty much work against most players. The only time you're not going to like 2-hit KO someone is like if it's like a whale player and their leader is like a Godzilla 89 that's level 50, right? Odds are your trains, if they're like level 15 or 20, is not going to kill it, and their Super X is probably going to heal them up, or the Fire Rating probably heal them up. But for the new players in the game, and especially for fighting some of the players that have been around for a long time but aren't whaling, this can be detrimental. I cannot tell you how many times this happens to me daily. People see me and they're like, oh, then they hit me with like, have a good battle, you're a good team or whatever, and they stall out my deck all the way to the end, and then they hit me with the absolute zero cannon. Most times I can survive if they don't have like trains or Kiryu or something, and they're not going to have Kiryu, but trains or something like that on hand. But a lot of the times it'll just kill me, especially when I was using my Kong to get the Kong 500 leader wins. At the time, my Kong was level 7, man, and absolute zero cannon was just wrecking me. It was ridiculous. So that's why Kiryu is really good. Even against players like me, if you can stall me out to overtime and I can't kill you, you can absolute zero cannon me, and then trains can just end the game. That's it. That is why the Kiryu deck is so impactful to the meta, and I would dare say it's very important to the game balance in general. A lot of people complain that they can't beat whales, they can't beat veteran players. Kiryu allows you to do that. You have to be a little bit crafty, a little bit tactical with your units on the field, but Kiryu will let you beat much stronger players than yourself with not a whole lot of effort put in. You're mostly going to be focused on keeping the other enemy's units away from your leader. I don't show my health bar in this match just so I can have the screen be bigger, but I don't think I take a single hit of damage. I maybe take like one hit of damage or something from some of the other units, right? I don't think I take a single hit of damage. I might take a little bit of damage in the beginning, but I don't really take any damage in the middle of the game. That's because I'm trying to protect the Kiryu. So, talking about protecting the Kiryu, let's talk about units that I think are super important in this deck. I have the 3 that I think are maybe the shell of the deck, although I might want to swap out Burning Godzilla. I don't use him in this video, and I didn't use trains in this video either, just because I don't like having to use the trains on the enemy leader. I did it with Mogera anyway, but I think Mogera is more fun. I just got into level 30, so I wanted to flex him out a little bit. But the trains, 100% crucial for most players in this deck. Level up the trains, and then you just train bomb the enemy leader. It's really, I hate it. I think it's so scummy, but I cannot deny how well it works. So you can do that for some cheeky wins. Space Godzilla. Space Godzilla is huge. Space Godzilla puts 2 crystals up on the field. Each of these crystals, they spawn, they have a little bit of a range around them, but the crystals will give your units that are close to them a 25% damage boost. I was going to say buff, but it doesn't matter. Boost, buff, whatever, around them. So I have, say, Anguirus next to my Space Godzilla. Anguirus now has a 25% damage boost. Not only this, but the crystals also can be used to body block and be a shield. So you see right here, the enemy Fire Rodan is taking down my crystals, which are 2 hits that could have gone to my Space Godzilla, but didn't. So the whole point, I was going to say, almost said porpoise. The whole purpose of this deck is to make sure that your enemy does not get to your leader. You need to stall them out in like the midfield as much as you possibly can so you can get that absolute zero cannon off and then just cheese out the victory. Okay, that's exactly what I did right here. Use Space Godzilla is the most reliable way to just get a unit on the field, get some free blocking out, and you get a damage boost. He's great in this style of deck. If you don't want to use him, you want to use Bachelor instead of something, you don't have to use him. I think he's probably one of the most optimal characters you could possibly run in these decks. Period. End of story. I think he's phenomenal. Burning Godzilla, I also think is good for the sheer amount of health that he has and the explosion. You could put 4th Angel here. The Bomb Squad works really well in a Kiryu's leader deck because, you know, they'll hold the enemies halfway through the field and then they'll explode and kill the enemies. Then your opponent has to relaunch their push and you can relaunch yours and kill them in the midfield. So the Bomb Squad works great. Burning Godzilla's on my infographic thing just as like he's like the representation of the Bomb Squad, right? You don't need him, but nice to have, and the Bomb Squad works with this deck. I am most partial to Godzilla Earth. I think Earth really shines in this deck. We'll have a separate video talking about Godzilla Earth in general, but I think Earth really shines with the Kiryu leader. Because, yes, Earth is expensive, and you want to use, you know, that energy on your Absolute Zero Cannon eventually. But Earth is huge. He is a monstrous unit. He does a ton of damage, and he has a ridiculous amount of health. Your opponent, if they're smart, is going to try to deal with that Earth immediately, and they're going to start focusing all of their efforts on the Earth. If you have a strong enough Earth, you can pretty much let him be a bullet sponge for your energy, right? So I can put Earth here, right? In this match, I put Earth down. I have King Ghidorah. I'm going to kill this King Ghidorah with the Kiryu right here. I get hit once, whatever. Kill the thing. Anguirus comes my way. He attacks Earth, takes it, you know, the hit away from my leader. Cool. Earth has barely any damage on him. Earth and Space Godzilla are going to move up. Now I have Space Godzilla with the crystals on the field, which are going to be 2 things that my opponent's going to have to get to if they want to hit my units, and then Earth, who is a gigantic stat stick, and now you can see my opponent trying to deal with this Earth as much as they possibly can. They're going to burn their energy focusing on the Earth and give me time to, you know, maybe deploy 1 or 2 units to support the Earth, depending on the health of yours, and then I can build up my Absolute Zero Cannon. That's what happens here. I keep this Earth up for almost the entirety of the 50 seconds to go into OT, and then pop my Absolute Zero Cannon. So making sure that your units can take a beating so you can charge up your energy is crucial, and that's also why I have on here Anguirus. I used Anguirus in my deck here, and I have Anguirus in the infographic. Anguirus is incredibly beefy for a, what is he, silver unit? For a silver unit, he's like 4,000 something health at level 30. You get him off rip in the game. You don't have to worry about trying to unlock him and struggling to unlock him through RNG, and you get him immediately. He's a great unit. You can take him up to whatever level you want, and he's going to be fire. He worked really well in this deck, protecting some of my units. He even protect Earth for a really long time, because with Earth, you know, I don't want him to die, but I also don't expect him to do all of the front loading. So Anguirus is there, totally take some shots off of him while he does his thing. And now look, Anguirus died, Earth has died, characters are moving up. Now I'm in OT. Now it's time for the Absolute Zero Cannon. Additionally, with Anguirus, I think that the Embob base works well too. There are a few variations of this deck, and the one that I generally consider the Kiryu Stall deck is one that involves a lot of stuns, Naraga, Manila, the Embob base. Granted, I don't think that the stunning version of this deck is the optimal version, because the Embob base is a little bit not that great. You kind of want your units to be good and then also usable like throughout the match. The Embos are fine, but if your opponent can get around the Embos, it's not really going to be a huge problem, and it's for 5 to get the 9 Embos is not amazing. But if you're going to run a stun version of this deck, Naraga, Manila, the Embos, great, fine, cool. Freezing Sonde, whatever, Dimension Tide, whatever. Just keeping your opponents away from Kiryu is the most important factor here. So whether you're playing it like me, using units with a lot of health and a lot of blocking potential, or you're stunning your enemy's units and just kind of manipulating the battlefield, it's really up to preference. I prefer just tanking the whole thing out. And I don't really have her on the infographic either, but I think Ava Unit 0 also is going to be really good for these kind of decks, because she does tank 70% of incoming damage when she's in her shield state. I think that could be really good for this deck as well, especially really late into the match. She will explode eventually, but I still think it's going to be pretty valuable. Next, I got Jet Jaguar. Again, I like to tank through a lot of the damage. Jet Jaguar does it really, really well. He does it, some could argue, better than most. He'll eat up, you know, 2 hits of pretty much an infinite amount of damage. Every time he spawns, he has that spear. He eats up the damage. It's great. I really like him. Mine is level 15. I probably get him higher. I love Jet Jaguar. A single point. He's starting to come back into the meta a little bit these days. People are really starting to experiment with him in weird ways to counter some of the Evangelion units and the explosion, especially the bomb squads. So he's really cool. He's high on this list, but I don't think he's super optimal, but I think he's pretty good. I think maybe Naraga is a little bit better. Naraga is pretty beefy health-wise, has a stun, has the invisibility. I like that a lot. Psychic Course as well is on here, because you want to keep your units alive in the midfield. You got to use that Psychic Chorus, and they're not only gonna keep your leader alive, keep your units alive. Yeah, it was nerfed a little while ago, but it's still pretty good. So if you're a new player, especially, Psychic Chorus is probably gonna be fine for you. And then I have the 2-cost Kamacuras on this picture as well, because obviously they're great. They're great at eating up shots, they're great at tanking up damage. So throw them on the deck. They're really great for 2 costs. You just pop them out and block, you know, King Caesars, Gigan 04s, Mogaras even. And they're really great for counterplay, especially to protect your leader, which is what I want to talk about next. So, valid criticism we got on the last few videos. So I don't really go into depth on the counters to these decks. I just kind of give you a bunch of characters and the decks and explain why it's good, but I don't really tell you what is good versus the decks once you've created them for yourself. So, counters for Absolute Zero Cannon. Obviously, we got to talk about the 2 biggest ones. In my opinion, I'm not a really big Kiryu leader, so going up against other Kiryu leaders, this is what I'm noticing is best for me to counter them. But I had to ask a few members in Discord, who actually do play a lot of the Kiryu leader. I'm pretty much an observer, right? I see other people use him against me. I'm not really using him all the time. I like Ultima as a leader too much, so I had to ask them what they think the really good counters were to this, to get you guys the best answers possible. So the 2 biggest counters to this, in my opinion, are Psychic Chorus and Fire Rodan, because the whole purpose of this deck is to stall out, use Absolute Zero Cannon, take 90% of the enemy's health out, and then hit him with the trains, hit him with Mogera, who I got hiding out in that little corner, right? Hit him with the Dimension Tide, anything that can get to the other side of the field super fast and do damage immediately. That's what you want. Like Mogera, I've been having so much fun with Mogera, and I took him to level 30. Love him. He's great. He's especially great in a Kiryu deck. And you see here, look, the opponent's spending time attacking the Earth. I hit the Absolute Zero Cannon, and I used Mogera. Now, they probably would have killed my Mogera and survived if they had Psychic Chorus or Fire Rodan. The healing from the 2 of those would have saved his leader's life. okay? The trains did get a buff recently, which makes them stronger. But I don't think it's stronger than Fire Rodan's heal. And if you had Fire Rodan combined with the Psychic Cores, that would kind of be crazy as well. But I think it just as level 30 Psychic Cores will probably do just fine. Or like level 20, 25, 30 Psychic Cores probably be good too. So the biggest counter to the Absolute Zero Cannon, because it's taking away so much health, is anything that's going to help your opponent regain their health. Psychic Cores and Fire Rodan. Cool. Got it? That's what I think the biggest counters were. Now, we have a few other suggestions as well. I'm seeing that Ava Unit 0 is also a great counter to Kiryu because she's going to run up and explode. This is not the same as like a Stealth Bomber or a, what's the other one? Gigan 72, because they're just going to run straight for the leader. They can't really defend themselves. Ava Unit 0 can defend herself really, really well. So she is going to be pretty dangerous coming up against Kiryu leaders, especially in fixed. And piercing units as well. If they get close to any of your pushes as a Kiryu lead, you're probably going to get cooked. A big strategy for Kiryu players is to keep your units kind of grouped up, either to benefit from Space Godzilla's crystals or benefit from Earth taking a lot of damage, or the M-Boss taking a lot of damage, or Anguirus taking a lot of damage. And you can even see it in my gameplay. I keep my units pretty grouped together. So piercing units, especially, are really good against this deck. Desghidorah, Earth, Ultraman, anything that their attacks will go through to another character, those are really big, damage dealers to these decks. Because if they can hit multiple units at a time and knock out a whole push as fast as possible, that's going to be detrimental to them, okay? So you could even say the same for like AoEs, but a lot of the piercing units have longer range than the AoEs. So like Hedorah would still probably be good against this. GMK would probably be really good against countering a Kiryu deck. Even the Bomb Squad, the Bomb Squad counters everything, right? But piercing, you have that longer range, so you can get more hits in. Even Ultima or Super X would probably also be pretty solid. That's why I like packing a Earth with me, because he takes a lot to bring down, and a regular sniper probably would take down my Batra, probably would take down my Anguirus, my Space Godzilla, but it's going to take them a lot longer to work through that Earth than anything else. And I think that's one of the reasons why he's like one of the best walls, right? Next we got, next on this list of the things in the Discord, Ava Unit 1 as a leader. Ava Unit 1's leader ability can be used, I think, twice in a match, twice or three times. I think twice, because I think it's like a minute something, 2 minutes something cooldown, where she will remove 80% of the health from all units on the field, and she'll remove like 30% or something, or 15% from the enemy leader, so that would be you. So if you have a really big push built up, guess what? Evangelion 1 will just consume 80% of your health. They'll drop Dimension Tide or a piercing unit or an AoE unit and just destroy your whole push in a second. It works on Earth. It works on Earth. It'll take 80% of his health, and then they'll just spam him until he dies super quickly. And then, hey, guess what? You might be out 9 energy. They might be in a more advantageous position than you on the battlefield. You might not be able to get him out. He's expensive. Earth, while he's great in this deck, he's very expensive, so it's kind of hard to use him. That's why we pack Anguirus with us in Space Godzilla, to mitigate where maybe we're falling short on some defense. And we have as well listed in the counters leader spam. So if someone's just slamming your leader with trains, Dimension Tides, Mogeras, Kiryus, anything that's going to kill your leader faster than you can get into overtime generally is not great. So that especially is not great for Kiryu leader. Kiryu leader has AoE. So if, say they were to drop like Mogera and Kiryu on you, if they were close enough, the AoE from your Kiryu could kill them. But you really don't want a ton of characters just jumping your leader immediately, especially when you're trying to survive until the middle of the match. If they just, spam the hell out of your leader and force you to react defensively, they can keep you, they can keep you to the end of the match. You'll never get the Absolute Zero Cannon out, because it costs 9 to use Absolute Zero Cannon. It costs 9 to use Godzilla Earth. Okay? So if they can make it so you're constantly expending your energy to play defense, you'll never get those 2 big moves up on the field, and you won't have that advantage. It's going to make it extremely difficult for you to use the Absolute Zero Cannon. So players that are using fast units as well, I mean, you could even say this for Gigan 72, Stealth Bomber maybe, right? But Ava Unit 0, Gigan 04, Leo, King Caesar. I'm trying to think of other fast units. Now, GMK is actually pretty fast. Fire Rodan, Gigan launching a G89 at you could be big too. So that's why we packed the Kamacuras and like Manila or Naranga, some low cost that we can play on defense really well, because you don't want to just like eat up a ton of damage on defense and focus your whole time on defense. You want to, okay, they have like a Kiryu coming my way. I see the Kiryu dropping on my Kiryu leader. I'm going to just deal with them immediately, super defensively, and call it a day there, right? So that is what it is, and you just got to knock it out, nip it at the butt immediately, and go on with your day. Try to get your Earth out on the field, try to get the Absolute Zero Cannon out on the field, and just do what you can with all of that. So, this video, I think, has gone on for a really long time. I don't know how long I've been talking for, but I hope that you enjoyed this video. Let me know if it was helpful. I tried to make it a little bit different with giving you guys the counters. I hope I talked enough about why the deck is successful. I know I didn't really spend a ton of time talking about the individual units I placed there, but I hope that I made the point across well that it's not about the specific units that you use, it's about the way you use them. So it's like, use them super defensively, play a lot of defense. You don't want to be like super aggressive. You just need to keep your opponent at bay until you can just hit them with the Absolute Zero Cannon, just 1-2 punch with the trains or something like that. So that's what I got for you guys today. Thank you all so much for watching, and I will catch you all on the next one. Bye-bye.